Hey guys, it's Matt here, and remember you being all hyped up because finally Star Wars The Force Awakens came out? So you actually paid money for it, hoping to see a new fresh chapter in the Star Wars universe, but then you watched it and you couldn't shake the feeling that the almost 2 hours of action-packed nostalgia felt a little bit like you were just rewatching A New Hope. Like, it was something new and fresh, but also not new and fresh at all. Like a sandwich from a gas station. Well, get ready to strap on your nostalgia-fueled cocaine-sprinkled strap-on dildo. Because it's time to get fucked and hyped at the same time for the 27th or something time in 17 years in this sort of review on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Yeah, you're the expert in quiet.
I'm a goddamn onion, Mason.
I went in with pretty high expectations for this game, since I had so much fun in last year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And of course Warzone, because who didn't play Warzone in the last few months? I fucking hate this game! And on top of that, who doesn't like to see a continuation of a story which tells you about the history of the world, but then in a universe where everyone is on cocaine and Michael Bay is the only history teacher? Then the whole Easter egg hunt for this game started in Warzone, then trailers came out that looked pretty cool, then I found out it was an actual continuation of Black Ops 1 and 2, you know, something that Black Ops 3 and 4 should have been.
Outcome?
Train go.
But what really sealed the deal for me and my Dutch pride was of course the fact that one of the missions takes place in Amsterdam.
Portie bitterballen. Nee, gewoon een beetje mosterd.
Ben je gek geworden of zo?
Hey.
So I bought it and I played it, and just like when I ordered 50 euros worth of hamburgers at McDonald's, I don't know how to feel about it. So without any further delay, there will be spoilers. And actually a lot of them, so beware of that. As some of you might know, normally I'd make a sort of review and Easter eggs video, but after some feedback and the fact that my videos were starting to get too long, made it so that from now on the review and the Easter eggs will be in 2 separate videos. So I hope you enjoy. Now there is of course a lot to talk about, since it's not just one game you're playing. You have the campaign, multiplayer, zombies, and eventually Warzone will be added again as well. But I'm going to start with the campaign. The story takes place mainly in the 1980s, with flashbacks here and there to the 1960s in Vietnam, and cutscenes that date back all the way to the fucking Stone Age because the frame rate is so fucking awful. No, this is not just my PC, everyone has this problem. Treyarch, please get your shit together. And in this story you follow the characters you know from the franchise, like Mason, Hudson, and Woods. Except not really, because they didn't bother to get the original voice actors back. Even though these voice actors do a good job as well, and blah 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 blah. But apart from that, they added a lot of new characters as well, like Helen Park, Lawrence Sims, Lazar, but mainly the story focuses on Brad Pitt's character from The Big Short, and the main protagonist you get to play as, who's called Belle, who can be whatever you like. The red line in this story is the typical America good, Russia bad story we've heard a million times already, but this time it's during the Cold War, so it's justified. Also, you know the Cold War? That period of geopolitical tension that is known for not having any large-scale fighting directly between the two superpowers? Yeah, Treyarch didn't get that memo. Anyway, you guys form a specialized group of people that spy on the Russians and try to find the nuke and the man who stole the nuke all the way back in the 1960s, Russian spy and main antagonist Perseus. During your search for Perseus, you play detective like in LA Noire, you go through a branch storyline like in Black Ops 2, only this time your choices don't matter, and you'll get a huge revelation, which first of all is pretty much the same as in the first Black Ops, and second of all, if you change the sentence,
We had a job to do.
would you kindly, and you close your eyes, it's almost like you're back in Rapture.
Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
In between missions, you can walk through your main base of operations, in which you can talk to the other guys in your team and look at evidence of previous missions on the evidence board. Because of all of these things, it almost feels like some sort of RPG at some point. Creating a character and describing its background, constantly taking breaks in between the shooting in order to look at evidence, investigating certain areas, taking pictures, interrogating the bad guys, etc, etc, etc. So you make your way way, spying through some very iconic locations based on the real world, like the Berlin Wall, Amsterdam and Vietnam. Places based on that whole Cold War paranoia, like the Russian test base, and even revisiting a very familiar place from the first Black Ops game. And I have to say, they nailed the vibe of the 1980s, and based this whole story not on actual events during the Cold War, but more on the fear people had of what was happening during the Cold War. It's based in a way you'd expect from a Call of Duty game, so it's a lot of noise, shooting, cutscenes and over-the-top action set pieces. But there is a nice change in pace every now and then in order to fit in the whole spying part. The Black Ops series is always trying to fit in actual real-life people in the story, and in this game it's no different. For instance, you'll see the likes of Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev, but also some very surprising known characters from previous games like Kravchenko, and weirdly enough Imran Zakayev, who since this point was only a part of the Modern Warfare games. So this might mean that all the Call of Duty Black Ops and Modern Warfare games are based in the same universe, and that is pretty cool. Right near the end of the game you'll get the big plot twist in which you realize that Atlas is actually Frank Fontaine and you were brainwashed to... Oh no, sorry, wrong game again. No, actually your memories about Vietnam have been implanted in your head by Brad Pitt and the CIA through a mind control program in order to get answers to where Perseus is hiding out. As is common knowledge, you should always do what Brad Pitt tells you to do, otherwise reality starts to crumble and zombies invade Vietnam. So stuff happens and blah 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 blah, more talking, more shooting, and now we're in Cuba. Playing through this mission with Lazar and Sarah, two things become very clear. One, you're playing with side characters, so one of them is going to die. Or in my experience, both of them, because the game didn't let me press the right button at the right time. And two, there's going to be a big revelation. In this case, the revelation is that Perseus doesn't just have one nuke, but enough to wipe out all of Western Europe. After even more talking and doing stuff, you finally have the choice to lie or tell the truth about Perseus' whereabouts. If you lie, Perseus gets to live, shit goes down and you kill all of your friends. If you tell the truth, you defeat Perseus in the most underwhelmingly short final mission ever. The game summarizes all your choices just like in Fallout, and you realize none of your choices mattered. And during a nice cliffside sunset bromance talk, Brad Pitt fucking shoots you in the face, or you shoot him, whatever, I don't care anymore. Now I might sound a bit negative, but overall the story was pretty enjoyable. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War has the nasty task of boxing up against the great story that took place in Black Ops 1 and 2. And you can definitely see that the developers did their very best to make this story similarly interesting. However, it's painfully short and a lot of it feels like uninspired fan service. Throughout the whole campaign you'll find yourself playing a mission and it already being over before you know it. I was genuinely excited when I heard Amsterdam was included in this game, but unfortunately you'll only spend what feels like 5 minutes in my country's capital. Apart from that, so much in this game felt like it was already done 1,000 times in other games, especially blatant copies of other Black Ops titles. From the intro screen to the missions to the story and even the plot twist. It's throughout the story that you keep feeling like the developers are trying to say, hey, remember Black Ops? Remember how much you loved it? Remember the numbers? Remember RCXDs?
Remember these characters?
Damn it! Why can't you remember?
It all just feels like one big nostalgia trip, which is very cool, and I'm definitely someone who easily falls for nostalgia traps, but it doesn't bring anything new to the table. For instance, in the first Black Ops it really felt like a surprise when you see President Kennedy for the first time, and it actually felt logical to include him, because he's so tied into the story. You know, with the whole conspiracy that Mason actually killed Kennedy. But now with Reagan, it just feels like the developers put him in there for the sake of putting him in there. Again, just a moment to make you feel like, hey, remember this from the first game? Please remember.
Damn it!
And it doesn't even come as a surprise because he was so heavily featured in the promotion material. In fact, seeing characters like Gorbachev, Kravchenko and Zakayev all of a sudden was a much bigger surprise. Every mission feels kind of watered down to what it could have been, and the story itself, while interesting, is very short and rushed. Even the main characters from the previous Black Ops games are pretty much just there for the sake of being there. Mason barely says anything and feels like he's only there so that the developers can do a small "the numbers Mason" reference, and Woods and Hudson do some more things, but not enough to actually have an impact on the story. Basically, this story could have easily been told without them, since the focus is so much on Adler, yes, he's called Adler by the way, not Brad Pitt, and Belle. However, the game is still very enjoyable for what it is. It's just a lot of action with very enjoyable and varied gameplay, even if it's copied from other games. The story could have been a lot stronger in my opinion if they didn't lean so much on nostalgia and made some missions a bit more fleshed out. For the big Black Ops fans, I still definitely recommend playing through it. Moving on to multiplayer, it fucking sucks. No, it doesn't, but I said a lot about it already in my first impressions video about the beta, and I think that what you've experienced in the beta hasn't really changed that much. You just have a lot more time to let the multiplayer grow on you. If you, just like me, had a lot of fun in the Modern Warfare reboot last year, there is definitely a lot to like here, since stuff like Gunsmith, the step away from 3-lane maps here and there, and the overall gunplay are pretty similar. But everything definitely takes some getting used to. Every person I've heard about the game says the same thing. It feels just a bit different, and it's a matter of opinion whether you like the changes or not. It is definitely a grindy game. You have to put more time into the game to eventually get less, since there's not as much content available at launch in comparison to the last Call of Duty. And for me, it just feels repetitive to play yet another game where I have to level up in order to unlock guns I all just unlocked in the beta and have been unlocking over and over again for the past few years in several games. Actually, I'm very interested in what other people think of this. Didn't you actually feel like, ah yeah, I leveled up, I'm pretty interested in finding out what I unlocked? Only to realize it's the AK-47 or the M16, and you just can't help but feeling that it's so unrewarding because you have been seeing these same guns in most first-person shooters now in the past 15 years. It's cool to see some classics return to the game, like the Commando, the Stoner or the FAMAS, but I would have liked to see a bigger new roster of weird new guns. Stuff like the G11 from Black Ops, something I wouldn't have expected in the game. But apart from that, you will definitely still enjoy yourself when playing it, and playing with friends is a blast as always. If you can look past the still horrible skill-based matchmaking that has been plaguing Call of Duty games for the past years, and you let the game grow on you, you will have a great time with it. I think as soon as more content starts dropping, the multiplayer will actually be worth playing. But now for what is in my opinion the best part of the game, the zombie mode. A quick shout out to the fact that they included Dead Ops Arcade into the game, because it's just as much fun as it was in the previous Black Ops games. But of course most people will be here for the normal zombies mode, and I absolutely love it so far. The new map, the Machine, feels like a nice return to form with enough goofy side notes to make it interesting and fun to play through. I definitely felt like I was playing the zombies mode from the original Black Ops again. Now I haven't actually played the zombies mode in Black Ops 3 and 4, so I don't know if everything I think is new in this zombie mode is actually new. But for me it definitely felt like there were a lot of new things to do. Just like the multiplayer, it feels very grindy and really challenging at points. But I do appreciate it that they actually made the start of a match a bit more easy for a newer audience to get into it. After a few rounds though, it's the challenge and difficulty just as I remember it from maps like Kino Derun Toto or 5 from the original Black Ops. The most fun I've had so far in the game was definitely because of the zombies mode, even when playing with complete strangers. I think it's a good thing that they try to rework the zombies mode, but still make it feel like you're playing a good zombies mode again. But that is based on what I've heard about the Black Ops 3 and 4 zombie mode, since I didn't play them myself. So the best thing you can do is play it for yourself and see if you enjoy it. Of course, as I've come to expect from reviewing video games, not everything is great. At higher levels, so with more zombies on your screen, the frame rate tanked and playing became a lot more challenging. I've had this problem with multiplayer as well, so I thought it was a problem with my PC. But then I realized other people on other PCs and consoles had the exact same problem. It's just weird to me that this franchise, which has been crapping out game after game after game almost as long as I've been alive, still doesn't seem to be able to properly release a game. On top of that, crossplay, one of the things I absolutely love in recent COD games, is fucking terrible at this point. While trying to play together with friends who are on console, I kept getting kicked from the group for no reason. After 100 tries and actually getting it to work, Most of the time connection was lost while being 20 rounds into zombies. Some of my friends who are on console aren't even joinable because they don't show up in my friends list. It even became so frustrating that after recording all the footage you see in this video, I didn't even play the game anymore. In conclusion, I think Black Ops Cold War is a pretty good entry into the Call of Duty franchise, but it does have a bunch of flaws. The fact that I actually wanted to buy it was for me personally a very good thing, because I didn't even feel like buying any Call of Duty game after the first Black Ops. Of course, later realizing that some of them were actually good and I missed out. The campaign, while painfully short and leaning too much on nostalgia, is still a very cool continuation of the original Black Ops story and is very enjoyable to play through once or twice. The multiplayer, while definitely not my favorite in the franchise, works fine as long as you take the time to get to know the new gameplay and if the game actually even decides to work. It's still a bit underwhelming for me at this point because of the lack of content and the fact that I have to grind guns that feel like I've unlocked 1,000 times now. But I think it will become more interesting in the future. For me, the absolute high point of this game is the zombies mode. It's a lot of fun to play by yourself or with friends. It feels like the old zombies mode, but adds enough to make it feel like a complete new experience. And I'm just very excited to see what they are going to do in terms of the new maps and where the story is going. Overall, is this game worth your money? Again, performance is the biggest issue here. Joining friends that are playing on different consoles was an absolute pain in the ass, and the game is straight up unplayable when the intensity goes up because of a crappy frame rate. It's still a matter of taste if you like the game overall or not, since the gameplay is different from previous Call of Duty entries, and at the moment of launch I'd say it might not be worth 60 euros. However, the game overall is pretty enjoyable and new content will be added in the future. So in my opinion, it's definitely worth trying out, just be ready for some frustrations here and there. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War so far in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram if you want to follow me on that as well, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!